This is the Net Group Investments Insights Podcast, where one or more of our experts explore a variety of views and insights that investors care about.
Hello, I'm Tumisho Grater from Net Group Investments Multi-Management. This installment of your market and economic wrap is titled Fed's Balancing Act, Inflation, Employment and Uncertainty. U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's speech at the annual Jackson Hole Symposium has shifted market sentiment, offering a cautious but clear signal that interest rate cuts may be on the horizon. Powell highlighted sweeping changes in tax, trade, and immigration policy, suggesting that the balance of risks between inflation and employment is evolving. This has opened the door to a potential rate cut in September, especially as recent U.S. labor market data shows signs of weakness. The minutes of the July U.S. Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC meeting, also grabbed headlines. The minutes showed that the majority of the FOMC members were more worried about the upside risks that higher tariffs pose to the inflation outlook than the downside risks to economic growth and job creation. Even so, the outlook for U.S. monetary policy remains murky. Since the July meeting, U.S. job creation has slowed noticeably and unemployment claims have increased. July non-farm payrolls rose just 73,000. Now, this is well below the break-even pace of 90,000, and prior months have been revised down by a combined 258,000. If August payrolls print below 100,000, this could confirm the need for a rate cut, particularly given the political pressures and Powell's emphasis on downside labor market risks. Meanwhile, tariff-induced price increases have become more visible in July's inflation numbers. The US dollar saw modest gains after last week's steep decline, stabilizing as markets digested Powell's dovish tone. However, expectations of policy easing and concerns around the US fiscal position may continue to weigh on the currency. This has a direct impact on the South African rand, which has been volatile in recent sessions. Initially, the rand strengthened on the back of Powell's dovish remarks as global risk appetite improved and investors priced in lower U.S. interest rates. However, the rand later gave up some of those gains as the dollar rebounded slightly, supported by cautious FOMC minutes and lingering uncertainty around the timing and scale of any rate cuts. The rand's performance remains closely tied to U.S. monetary policy expectations, and any sign of further weakness in U.S. labor data or inflation could reignite dollar softness, offering support to emerging market currencies such as the rand. Global treasury yields edged higher as investors look ahead to key inflation data, especially the core U.S. PCE price index, which is considered the U.S. Fed's preferred inflation gauge. This is due out this Friday. Economists expect a year-on-year rise to 2.9% from 2.8%. In equity markets, Asia led the charge in Monday trade, with China and Hong Kong stocks rallying on the back of Powell's remarks. Analysts suggest that maturing deposits and lower interest rates could drive flows into equities, with potential capital rotation from the US to China. In Europe, markets ended in the red as investors weighed corporate updates and political developments in France, alongside Powell's comments and new details on the US-EU trade agreement, which could benefit sectors like pharmaceuticals. On Wall Street, the Nasdaq rose ahead of Nvidia's earnings, buoyed by positive analyst sentiment. Meanwhile, Intel extended gains after the US government took a 10% stake, signaling a broader sovereign wealth strategy. Despite Friday's rally, markets remain cautious ahead of the September meeting, with restrained gains expected until more clarity emerges. Locally, the FTSE JSE All Share Index continued its historic run, closing up 0.69% in Monday trade. This follows the index's recent breakthrough of the 100,000-point milestone. Key drivers included strong performance from tech and holding companies, with Naspers and Prosus leading gains. Gold and platinum stocks also surged, with AngloGold Ashanti, Sibanye-Stillwater, Valterra Platinum and Northern Platinum all hitting new highs. Looking ahead, markets will shift their focus to the US inflation numbers that are due out this week, and headline and core inflation are expected to remain steady. However, the August payroll data is likely to be the key determinant of the Fed's next move. A weak print could confirm the start of a rate-cutting cycle, with broader implications for global markets and emerging market currencies like the Rand. We have come to the end of our note. Until next time, do take care from the multi-management team.
This podcast is for marketing purposes only. The information contained in the podcast or video was for information purposes and does not constitute advice, recommendation, or an offer or solicitation to purchase or sell any funds or strategies to any person in any jurisdiction in which the offer, recommendation, or solicitation to purchase would be unlawful.